Hello and welcome to the third tutorial in the series of exterior modeling and architectural visualization. And today we're going to learn how to create this floor, the second floor. In the previous tutorials we created the basement and the first floor. Now we're going to focus on this floor here. So before I'm going to continue with the same technique I used in the first two tutorials by going over the exterior walls with a line, I want to look at my front views here because there are some details in the second floor that weren't visible in the first one, like this little line here. We'll see it in the plan in a second. There's also a line here and here, something like a bulge. And now if I look at the plan, this is the basement plan, this is the first floor, and this is the second one. If I look at the plan, I can see this bulge here, and also here, and here. These are decorative bulges in the wall, so I'm going to create like holes here. I'm going to take them in account when I create the exterior walls. So let's get started. I'm going to select line, make sure the snap toggle, right click, the vertices is selected, and I'm going to go over the exterior walls. And as usual, I'm going to click on every point of opening, like windows or doors. And there's this bulge we talked about, so I'm going to make it a hole. And again here, and we'll continue to the window. And here the wall goes inside. This is a clearing for washed clothes to be hung. This place and this place. I will show you in the front viewport in a second. Again, the decorative bulge here. And the windows. Small window for the bathroom. And we close the line here. Close spline, yes. Now this part here is for drying clothes. If we look at the front viewport, at the front part of the map we imported from AutoCAD, we can see these two places. These two places will hold the clothes inside. So this is like openings, but not windows. So that's fine. After we created the lines for the exterior walls, I'm going to right click, convert to editable poly, go to perspective, and now I'm going to choose border, all the borders we created, and shift drag, first of all unclick snap toggle, and now shift drag up for the bottom part of the window, shift drag up for the top part of the window and the doors to the balcony, and shift drag up for the ceiling. So now we have the lines that represent the openings, just like we did in the previous tutorials for the first two floors. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this polygon right here, and we're left only with the walls. So now I'm going to go to the top viewport and check the height of the windows. So we're starting from the floor. We're going to create a box, a helper box, using the snap toggle from this point, which is the floor, to the bottom part of our window. So the height of the bottom part of our window is 105 centimeters. The top part from the floor is 230. So 105, 230. I'm going to go to the front viewport and create one box, which is 105 height, and shift drag, create another box, 230. Now I'm going to select this box, click on the y-axis, and with this point selected, drag it down here. And this one, y-axis selected, drag this point down to 0. And now we know the 230 height and the 105 height. So I'm going to select my walls. I'm going to select these vertices and take them down to this height. And these vertices down to this height. So this is the beginning of the windows and this is the end. Now I'm going to delete the helper boxes. I'm going to go to the plan. I'm going to hit F3 to see through, and let's select all the polygons that represent the openings. So we have a small window here, here, here. The red lines are windows, and this one I'm control selecting all the windows. Let's go to this part. We have a window here, and we have a window here. We also have 1, 2, 3, 4 windows. These on the sides and these on the front. And let's continue. I'm going to select this window. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next we have openings that lead to the balcony. We have a balcony here. So what I'm going to do is click 1, 2 for the balcony. This is a window, so 1, 2. This is also an opening for the balcony. 1, 2. You can see that these are openings for the windows for the balcony, and these are windows when you look at the top viewport at our plan. So this was actually this part here. So as you can see, there is a balcony on the second floor, and these doors lead to the balcony, and these windows are the windows in the center. So when I build a plan like this, I need to always be observant of this part here and see where the openings are actually located. So that's great. After I selected all the windows, I'm going to go to the top viewport and I'm going to extrude inwards. 22, I think. Yes, the thickness of the walls is 22. Fine. Now I'm going to look in a perspective viewport and just hit delete. And now we have our openings. Next thing I want to do is to check if the height of the openings are all accurate. So if I go to the top viewport, I can see that the side of the building is what we did. We did 105 for the bottom of the window and 230 for the top. What about all the other sides? What about this side? If I create a box here from the floor level to the bottom, it is 105, and to the top of the window is 230. That means that these two windows are also correct in what I built. Next, I'm going to check this side of the window of the building, which is exactly the same as this one. So if I take from the floor to the bottom of the window, I have 205, and to the top 230. So that's also accurate. And the last view is this one where the balcony is. If I go from the floor to the top of our opening to the balcony, we have 230, which is right. If I take from the floor to the top of this window, we have 205, which is lower than the rest. And the lower part of the window is 135. So this window and this one are smaller than the rest. So what we have here is 135 and 205. 135 and 205. I'm going to create boxes 135 and shift drag 205. I'm going to choose the y-axis and move this point down to 0, y-axis down to 0, and now I'm going to take these boxes to this side and let's see where the smaller windows are. As you can see, this side is the side of the balcony. So the smaller windows are this one and this one. So what we need to do is we need to take this polygon down here and this polygon down here and just drag them on the z-axis to this point here, because this is the 135 height. Now I'm going to hit F3. No, I'm going to rotate it. Choose this polygon and this polygon and drag them on the z-axis only to this height, which is the height of the top of the window. So now we align the windows to our measurements. We have 205 for the top of the window and 135 for the bottom. I can delete the helper boxes. Let's change this material, the lines to black and the material itself to this base material, the gray one. So now we have black lines and gray material. It's easier to see what I'm doing. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out the height of the ceiling in this floor. I'm going to go to the top viewport and let's see, we have a floor here and this is the floor of our roof level. So if I create a box from this point to the floor of the roof, we have 302.5. I'm going to go to the front viewport, create a box 302.5, and I'm going to move on the y-axis this point to 0. Now I'm going to align these vertices, the top ones, to the floor of the roof. That's great. Now we have the height of our floor. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the interior of this floor. In order, when I render this image, I want to see some walls and some variation inside. Because if it's completely empty, the render will be less photorealistic. So I'm going to create a rough representation of the interior. I'm not going to create the doors or things like that, only the walls. So let's get started. I'm going to go to the top viewport. I'm going to create a line just as we did for the other floors. That represents the interior of our... Oh, 1 second. As you can see, I just started snapping, but it snapped to this point up here. I don't want this to happen, so I'm going to delete the line I created. And in order to avoid this, I'm going to hide the exterior walls. Let's call it, first of all, let's call it Ext walls level 2. And I'm going to right click, hide selection. Now I'm going to go to the top viewport of the second floor, and I'm going to create the lines. So 1, 2 of the interior, of course. Mind the openings as usual. Just going to go over the walls inside. I don't care about the doors, only the walls. It's a lot of walls here. We'll try to... Oh, the line just stopped by itself. Sometimes this happens, it's a bug in Max. So I'm just going to continue from the same point it stopped, from here, and then I'm going to connect the two lines. So don't worry about that, just continue with the walls. If the line for some reason just stops, this is the end. This is not a wall, but this is the end of the interior of the house, because this place is where we put the dry clothes. So as you remember when we built the exterior. So what we need to do is go until the window and continue inwards. It's going to create 1, 2, 3. That's a problem with the door, but it doesn't matter, just continue from here. As I said, it doesn't have to be 100% because it needs to be a rough representation of the interior, because this is going to be an exterior visualization. Continuing on with the walls until we come to the same point we started. Needs to be a closed line. There's a lot more lines in this floor than the first one, but it's not that bad. Just going to continue. Windows till we come to the first I think we've been here already. The reason I don't know where the end is because the line just stopped by itself in the center. So it can't snap to the end of the first line. So I'm going to stop here because I remember I started somewhere here, and I'm going to hide the plan. And now, as you can see, I stopped exactly in the place I started, which is I didn't. One second, maybe not. If I hide this, yes, exactly at the same place we started. I finished. So you can see the line stopped here. I'm going to connect both lines. Let's hide this to see if actually it stopped at place. Yes. No, it doesn't. We have overlapping lines here because I started somewhere here, I think, or here. So what I need to do is delete these lines here, the overlapping lines. If I remember correctly, yes. I'm going to Control Z and delete everything except this line, because if I delete this line, there is no line beneath it, so these don't overlap. So now that we have the two lines we created, 1 and 2, I'm going to connect them. I'm going to choose this one, attach this one, and I'm going to weld everything because there were two lines, so I need to weld all the points. That if there are 2 points in the same place, they will be welded to 1 point. So I'm going to just select everything and hit weld. This welded everything. I'm going to select everything again and make sure we don't have a we don't have a Bezier corners or something like that. We need everything to be corner, like 90 degrees. It needs to be straight. This is fine. The last step that I made in connecting the two lines and in welding, you don't need to do that if your line didn't stop for some reason by itself. So if the line continues the whole way back to the place it started, it will ask you if you want to close the spline, and when you close the spline, everything is welded and everything is fine. So the last step I did was because of an error in my program. So if it doesn't happen in your case, don't bother doing this step. So that's fine. Now I'm going to unhide everything, and I'm going to shift drag down these lines. I'm going to mirror it because this part of the house is a mirror of this one, almost. There are little differences, but almost mirror. I'm going to mirror this line I created. Now it mirrored it on the x-axis, so left and right. I need to mirror it on the y-axis, down, up, which is great. So now we have two plans. We have, let's hide the plan for a second. We have this plan and we have this plan. So this plan is actually a mirror of this one. So I'm going to move it back. Let's unhide the plan and I'm going to move it only on one x, only on the y-axis to this corner here. I'm going to snap it. So I'm going to select this point here and just drag it down. Now it's snapped. I'm going to right click, convert to editable spline. This will collapse this to a spline. And now if I select the vertices, I can see if the vertices intersect with the exterior wall windows. So let's hide this plan. I'm going to take the interior, this part of the interior that was mirrored, and hit vertices. And now let's see that these dots correspond with these this interior of the windows. So right off the bat you can see that this point is not in place. It needs to be here. So I'm going to move this whole line down to snap it to here. Let's continue. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine, this is great. Everything is snapped. The reason there was an unalignment here is because this is not a perfect mirror. This side of the house is just a little bit different than this one. So now let's continue. Let's see what we have here. Everything is fine. Okay, so the openings are aligned, everything is fine. Actually, this wall on this side is also not aligned. So this is actually a perfect mirror image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this line here. I'm going to take it up and snap it here. I'm going to attach both of these splines. Right click to exit the attachment. And I'm going to create a floor out of this. So I'm going to right click, convert to editable poly. Now we have the interior floor, which is great. I'm going to choose the borders, one, and the border of this one. Now I'm going to shift, let's unselect the snap toggle. I'm going to shift, no, you know what? Actually, I'm going to leave the snap toggle on. I'm going to shift drag to the bottom of this window and shift drag to the top of this window, because this window represents all the windows in the house except these two, which I'm going to fix in a second. And shift drag to the ceiling. Now I'm going to delete all the polygons that represent the holes, the windows. So let's do that. Let's select, Control select all these polygons. Fine, and I'm going to hit delete to delete them. That is great, the polygons were deleted and all the interior walls align perfectly except these two. So I'm going to fix that. Just going to select this edge, move it down on the z-axis only to this edge, and this edge move it up to this point, and same thing here, move it up, move this down. This is great. We have an interior of this floor. Let's call this level 2 int. I'm going to create, you know what, before that I'm going to select the exterior walls and I'm going to select all the polygons. Yeah, as I suspected. As you can see, this is grayed out. What this means, that this side of the polygon is the back side. If I look at the other side, you can see that this is not grayed out, it's red. So the grayed out of the polygon is the back side of the polygon. Because these are the exterior walls, this needs to be the front side. So I'm going to flip them. I'm going to select all the polygons and hit flip. Now this flipped it, and as you can see, this side is the right side for the exterior of the house. I'm going to do the same test for the interior polygons. That's great. The interior polygons are facing the right direction. Now I'm just gonna give them an outline black and a base material of gray. And we have our second floor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the ceiling of this floor. So I'm going to select this border and control select this one, and I'm going to cap them. Now they are capped. The polygons are facing the right direction inwards, and we have the interior of our floor. Now if I look at the front viewport, I can see that this the top of the exterior walls is essentially aligned with the floor of the ceiling. So let's unhide everything and let's see what I'm talking about. You can see this line represents the floor of the ceiling, the floor of the roof of this house. So the exterior walls I made the same height as this line, but the interior walls, the ceiling of this floor, needs to be 30 centimeters lower because we have the thickness of the ceiling itself. So what I'm going to do is go to the front viewport and choose the interior level 2. Before that I'm going to create a box 30 centimeters, helper box of 30 centimeters. I'm going to take it and move it from this point here. And now I'm going to choose not the exterior walls, the interior level. Choose the vertices which represent the ceiling and take them down 30 centimeters. So now we have a 30 centimeter thickness of the ceiling itself. And this floor is done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to I'm going to select the exterior walls and the interior. I'm going to move them in the front viewport from this point down here up. I'm going to move on the y-axis. I'm going to select this point here, which is the bottom point of the floor, and I'm going to move it. You know what, first of all I'm going to take it closer here. That's right. Now I'm going to move on the y-axis only this point to this height, so it fits correctly in the height. Now I'm going to go to the top, going to hide the plan because it interferes with my moving, and I'm going to move this point here. As you can see, is the same as here. So I'm going to move this point on the y and x axis only, not in the height x. I'm going to move this point to this point. And now, if we see in the perspective, we place it exactly in place for the second level. Now we have all the levels of our building. We need to add, of course, we need to add a balcony here, and we need to add like closing lines here because this level is a little bit jumping out of the building. We need to make some fixes, but the basis is done. So let's create these fixes that I want to make for this floor. First of all, we can see that this second floor is more outwards than the first floor. So I'm going to close it up by I'm going to select the exterior wall, select these edges, 1, control select 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because for now we have a hole here in our wall, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's fine. And I'm going to move it shift move on the y-axis only to this wall here. So we essentially created more polygons that closed off this hole down here. So now we have like a bulge, which is what we wanted. Now there is a hole here also, because we have like a inward bulge here for the decoration of the house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it only, and I'm going to shift move it to this point here. Then I close it off also. Okay, let's see what else. This side of the house, same thing. I'm going to select these edges here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Again, I'm going to use the move while the snap toggle is on. I'm going to shift move on the y-axis to this point here. So now we closed off this hole down here, and I'm going to shift move this to this point here. Okay, everything is fixed on the sides. Let's see what else we have here. We have a hole here above the door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close off this one too. I'm going to select this one, 2, and I'm going to move them on the x-axis back to this point here. Now I'm going to take this one, which is the inward bulge, and I'm going to move it also to this point here. And now I'm going to take this edge and move it to shift move to this point here. So now what we did is closed off this part. We have, you know what, no, let's take this back for a second and let's watch the plan. If the plan is actually, maybe this opening is lower. Let's go to the top viewport. I'm going to unhide everything. I'm going to go to the front view here, this one. So now, as you can see, there is a door. This is the height of the first floor. I'm going to create a box from this height of the floor to this height here. We have 295. So this height here is where the roof above the door is. So we have 295. I'm going to go to the front viewport. Let's go to the perspective, and I'm going to, where have we been? Here. I'm going to create a box from, let's unsnap snap toggle. I'm going to create a box. In order to create a box on a polygon, a certain polygon, what I need to do is click auto grid. Now I can create this box everywhere I want. So it just aligns to my polygons. I can create one here inside. I can create one on this wall. It just auto grids to a surface. So I'm going to create it from 0 here. We had 295, right? 295. This is the height. Again, let's see it. So create a box. Snap it from the floor to this point. 295.5. Second. 295.5. I'm going to delete this helper, and let's go to the perspective viewport back to our building. Might be a little bit difficult to understand at the beginning. Just try creating this couple of times, and I think at the second, third time you will get the drift. So 295.5 is the height where this ceiling above the door needs to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this wall. I'm going to select this one, this edge, and this edge, this and this edge. I'm going to take them down while the snap toggle is on. shift drag them down to 295.5. I'm going to take this edge. I didn't drag this down because if I would, all this line would be dragged down. I need only this part here. So I'm going to take, after I dragged, take this edge here and shift drag it to the end of the opening. So now this is the right height for the ceiling of the entrance. I'm going to delete the helper box. And now I can drag 1, 2, 3, 4. No, without the 4, just these 3 on the x-axis to this point here. And I'm going to take this one and drag it back here. So now we have the opening for our door. One second. It's just selected. Okay. As you can see, there's an opening here for the door and a ceiling in the opening. I'm going to do the same thing at this side. I'm going to take 1 polygon, 2 polygons, 3, 4 polygons. I'm going to drag them down to the same height, so only on the z-axis to this height here. I'm going to drag one edge to this point here. And now let's drag back. 1, 2, 3, drag them to here. And this one drag to here. Alright, so now we fixed another thing, the entrance roof. Next thing, these little rooms here are for hanging drying clothes. So we need like a floor here, which I will create using these lines. 1, 2, 1, again 1, Control 2, 3, and let's select these ones. 1, 2, 3, while holding Control. And now I'm going to bridge this. What this did is created 3 polygons here that created the floor for this little hole for our hanging the laundry. So that's fine. We fix these parts. And last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this floor here for our balcony. So I'm going to see at the top viewport how our balcony looks. As you can see at this part here, that we have a floor for the balcony that extends outwards till this point here. If we look at the plan, you can see that the balcony is this one. And this green thing is like a sun filter that is up here. It will be built with the roof. So what we need to do is we need to create this, essentially this box here. It begins. Alright, I'm going to create lines using the snap toggle to create our floor of the balcony. Second, it stopped the line at the center again, so I'm going to create another line. It's a bug on my PC. I don't think it's going to happen in yours, but that's fine. Just creating this box here, close spline, yes, that will represent the floor of our balcony. So now after I created this floor, I'm going to convert to editable poly, so right click, convert to editable poly. And I'm going to move, one second, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to select this point and move it here to this point here. So where we have an opening for the balcony, here and here, I'm going to place this line. Now I'm going to take it up on the z-axis, and I'm going to take only this spot here and place it here. second. Let's move the z-axis here. Alright, so now, as you can see, we have a floor of the balcony. We also have a hole here because the first floor was longer than the second one. So I'm going to close this hole by choosing this one, the exterior walls level 1. I'm going to select this edge, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the edges in this side of the building. I'm going to shift drag to this point here, to the entrance. So now we have the beginning of the balcony and we have the extension of the balcony outside our building. It's great. Balcony floor, let's call this. It's fine, and I'm going to give it a outline of black and this base material. Great, so now we created this floor for the balcony. In the next tutorial we're going to learn how to create the last part of the building of this house, which is the roof. I'm going to add a decorative, like a closing for this balcony, and I'm going to add details like windows and railings and things like that. So enjoy, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.